floor is Tracey and Violet. She's over there maxing and relaxing. Violet, say hey. Yeah. She's just doing her thing. Oh, you getting up? You coming over? Is that what you're doing? From Tracey. Tea time with Tracey and Violet. No, come around the other way. For goodness sakes. Woman. Anyways, I'm sorry I haven't done a video in a few days, but today is Monday morning. It's 9:37 in the morning. The kids have all gone to school. And Violet, you need to move your booty there, baby. And I want to talk to you about a book. Okay, all right. We're going to talk about Kill Creek. This book has been out for a couple of years, I think. I'm slow to the roll and slow reading this, but it's new. It was new to me. I read it last month, and I had never heard of Scott Thomas. I guess this is his debut novel, and yeah, we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to have some tea. Oh, yes, right there. That's her little pink poodle she likes to cuddle. Anyways, I'm sitting on my living room floor, and okay, watch out. I'll show you this beautiful cup. She wanted to come out and play today. This here is the New Brunswick tartan. I'm in Canada, for those that aren't aware. I live in Nova Scotia, and Canada's made up of provinces, whereas it's equivalent to states in the United States. We're provinces. But New Brunswick is our neighbor, and I had lots of YouTube friends over in New Brunswick, but this is their tartan. Okay, Violet, I don't need any more kisses. But yeah. Okay. Anyways, she has some gold up at the top. Don't lick my boobs. And gold down there at the bottom. And you can see on the inside is the tartan too. So I just washed her. So she has gold on her elbow, gold on this side, and gold on this side. They're not always like that. And this is her skirt or pedestal. There you go. Right way up, Tracey. And yeah, it's from Adderley Fine Bone China, England. Oh God, it's teeny tiny. I can't even read it, it's tiny. And then it has the number, New Brunswick tartan. So yeah, I'm having, oh, I should have looked, cozy cinnamon something. And I'm using my mom's teapot. You've seen her before. I have other teapots, but I just had her out the other day, so she wanted to come for another little dance. But I'm just letting this tea steep for a minute, and then we'll pour ourselves a cuppa. If you drink tea, coffee, wine, martinis, whatever, or don't drink anything at all. I'm just having some tea right now. Anyways, I wanted to talk about Kill Creek. I have other books that I want to talk about, but I wanted to start with this one, and then I'll do videos for the other ones. But this was a pleasant surprise. I haven't read an actual horror story in a long time. The last horror story that I read, I think it was months and months ago. Like, I was listening to audiobooks. I read like the bunch of Stephen King ones, Dan Simmons. Yeah, like I did The Stand, It, The Shining, Pet Sematary, Dan Simmons' The Summer of Night, and Winter Haunting. And yeah, anyways, it's been months and months and months and months. Like, I can't even remember if it was this year. If it was, it would have been like at the very beginning of the year. Anyways, so it's been a long time since I've read a horror one, because I got into dark romance, which I still love, but right now I want to read horror. And this is a haunted house story. If you guys watch BookTube, you've probably seen people talk about this a lot. I know I did, but that's why I picked it up, because I didn't know a whole lot about it, except it was a haunted house story, and I love haunted house stories. Um, there's a blue jay out on my deck. If I move, it'll... Oh, 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 Violet. I don't know if you guys can hear that blue jay. Anyways, yeah, my house, I won't technically say it's haunted, but it has its own personality. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, I love haunted house stories. And so I started my horror kickoff with this one. So I'll quickly read the back. I know my reviews can kind of be a little spoilery, but not completely. So if you don't want to know as much as I'm going to tell you, you know, I don't divulge big twists or anything like that. I like to, I'm not a woman of short words when I talk about something I'm passionate about. So, at the end of a dark prairie road, nearly forgotten in the Kansas countryside, is the Finch house. For years it has remained empty, overgrown, abandoned. Soon the door will be opened for the first time in decades. But something is waiting, lurking in the shadows, anxious to meet its new guests. And then, when the best-selling horror author, Sam McGarver, is invited to spend Halloween night in one of the world's most famous haunted houses, he reluctantly agrees. At least he won't be alone. Joining him are 3 other masters of the macabre, writers who have helped shape modern horror. But what begins as a simple publicity stunt will become a fight for survival. The entity they have awakened will follow them, torment them, threatening to make them a part of the bloody legacy of Kill Creek. Yeah. So, well, let me just check my tea, because I want a little tea. When I read this, I read that probably in 2 days, 3 days maybe. I really couldn't put it down. I really, really enjoyed it. Oh, this smells like fall. Delicious. Delicious. For those that follow me over on Nova Scotia Living, you know I love deal shopping, so I get a lot of stuff 50% off. This tea was one of my 50% off finds, and I love it. Delicious. All right, so this book breaks on the scene Sam McGarver. He is one of the characters in this book, and he is a professor, I believe, at a university focusing on, I don't know whether it's English or like horror genre literature, or I can't remember exactly, but I really liked how it started off, because he's already a well-known author of horror, like contemporary horror. And so he breaks down how horror stories are often developed in books, and it kind of plays out through the whole story that way. So I just thought that was really clever. Now Sam, he is going through some personal struggles. He is teaching at this school. He's on the hook in the sense people want a new story from him. It's been almost a year and he hasn't put out a new story. He used to bang out stories like nobody's business, and it's been a year. But he has his own personal struggles. He's separated from his wife, and he's struggling with that. They don't have any children or anything, but there's just a lot of emotional, almost like post-traumatic stress syndrome from his previous years. So he's struggling to get a new novel out. He has a block. His editor, or whoever it is that, pokes him, flies all the way to wherever he is. I forget now. I read this over a month ago. And says, what's up? Where's the new thing? How you making out? We're waiting on it. You know what I mean? They fronted a bunch of money for this, and of course Sam's like, well, it's getting done. It's getting done. Just leave me be. I'll get it done to you. But really, he's not. Um, that's all I'll say about him right now. Another character in this book is T.C. Moore. She is another author. Her genre of horror is more extreme. I don't know all the different horror genres, subgenres, or anything like that, but she is more gory, more graphic, more in your face, kind of dramatic and like shocking horror. T.C. Moore is a young woman. She has, what I recall, she has long black hair, but half of her head is shaved. One of her eyes from her past, she faced a really rough background, which you learn about in the story. I won't get into that. One of her eyes is black and red, I believe, something like that, because of trauma she has experienced, which all the authors in this, all the characters in this have experienced great trauma, or maybe not trauma, but just life, mountains. They're climbing mountains. How's that? So her struggle right now in regards to her writing is she is quite capable of banging out books. Like she's a single woman. She lives in a fancy, very minimalist house. She takes care of herself. She's very dark and almost gothic a little bit, kind of. And she can just bang out, like sit there and write and get things right out one after another. The thing is, she's struggling because one of her books is potentially made into a movie, and she doesn't like how the movie is, but she already signed over the rights, so she can't really change how the movie's going to be, and she's mad because she doesn't want her name, her reputation to be portrayed as how they're going to be putting it on the silver screen, kind of thing. And she's furious, and she doesn't know what to do. Another one of the main characters in this book is Daniel Slaughter. He is a horror author too. He is more of a young adult author, Christian author. Like he'll almost like a Goosebumps with Christian twist, I guess. He is a kind of he's portrayed as a middle-aged, kind of a frumpy guy. His horror stories always kind of have a happy ending, and they're quite tame. And his issue is his religious following is kind of abandoning him now because they feel like it's not Christian like. So although he's extremely successful, his following is dwindling, and he's struggling with that because he's never had to live with that. He's always been a success, and it's starting to fail. The last main character of this story is Sebastian Cole. He is a very well-known author. He is a much older gentleman. He's like a classic horror novelist. He'd be like an older man, whereas the other three are younger, middle-aged people. Sebastian is an old, I think he's tall and skinny, and he always wears a suit, and he talks he's almost like a mediator, and he writes classic horrors, and he fears of being forgotten because his heyday is kind of gone, even though he's still fully respected, but his heyday is gone, So that's the four main characters. The premise, or how the story comes together. All of these authors are facing their own personal struggles. They are approached by something Wainwright. What he's like a publicity online success. He had one great big success of setting up this, it's not really a prank, but a stunt, and it went viral. And so he's world renowned, and he wants to replicate that, and he's struggling to do so. So he approaches each one of these authors, and these authors don't know each other. They're all in different parts of the country in the States. He approaches all of these authors and proposes that if you come stay the night in the world, the one of the biggest haunted houses, on Halloween night, you will get, I forget how much it is, a great big load of money just for one weekend or something like that. But for one night to stay overnight here on Halloween night, and it will be live streamed on the internet. So they all kind of begrudgingly end up getting there. Now, something about this house. This house was built in 1859 by a man. He built it himself, pretty much. And his lover, his wife, I don't think they were technically married, but he was a white man, she was a black woman. Back in 1859, that didn't really fly. So what happened, and this says this before the story even starts. One day, a crowd of people with pitchforks and fire and stuff come and kill him, come and kill her, and string her up to the one tree outside of the house. Right there. So they are not found for a while, and they find the love of his life, who was this black woman, hung from the tree. He was dead in the house. And from there, the house was shut up for a long, long time. I forget how long, but a very long time. Very, very long time. So the house had been tried to be rented out. Nobody would ever stay. They said things and that. But then the Finch sisters, right there, ended up buying this house sometime in the, I don't know, in the 70s or something like that, 1970s. Like, this was years and years and years later. This house is massive, like a great big, massive house. These two sisters, spinster sisters, bought this house, refurbished it, fixed it up, and lived there for the remaining of their days. But nobody was allowed to go in that house when they lived there. And one of the sisters was in a wheelchair, and nobody ever seen her. Anytime if somebody came to the door, it was, I forget the names of the two sisters, but I know their last name was Finch. They would, like, one sister would be the one to answer the door, but nobody had ever stepped foot back into that house for a long, long time, without specific permission or anything like that. They weren't social butterflies per se. When these sisters are no longer around, I think by 1998 it said. I might be getting something mixed up, but nobody else. I think the Finch sisters weren't there anymore after 1998. So the house had been shut up since 1998. And then along comes Wainwright, who wants to put on this stunt and get these authors in present day, or, last year or the year before, whenever this book came out. To do this stunt. The house had been fenced up because something tragic happened to the Finch sisters. So this house got the reputation of, nobody can go in this house. This house is just evil. You can't go in this house. He somehow gets the rights to stay there one night. It's a great big, beautiful house. It's dated from 1998, like the appliances and stuff. But it's even fenced. The whole property is fenced, so nobody can go there because there had been vandals and things like that. This house has almost been forgotten. I mean, the whole idea of the house was not forgotten. There's a haunted house, but it wasn't a tourist attraction. It wasn't this or that, because it was placed on this back road that has been forgotten because any main roads were always diverted, the highways or whatever it was. Even the creek, Kill Creek, there used to be a creek there, dried up. Like it was just, it's a long forgotten house. So since it was all fenced up, all the grass and everything was all grown up. Like it was, yeah, a forgotten house. And this Wainwright wants to have 4 of the biggest horror writers in America come and stay one night in this big famous haunted house to be interviewed on the internet, and things might possibly happen. Maybe not. The authors are kind of skeptical in regards to like the haunting issue and things like that. A few things do, make appearances, but nobody really notices. You as the reader know. But yeah. So I won't get into all that because it's so good. It's so good. That was really just like touching on this and that and this and that, but it's so good. I thought it was. The atmosphere, like the way the house is described when it's opened up by the people that prepare the house for these people to come, they hire local people to go open the house and trim the lawn and things like that. You really get a good look at what this property looks like. And just there's a scene when they're doing that. I was just like, oh my goodness, I feel like that would be terrifying. This book didn't really scare me, but it was just like the perfect kind of haunted house story. So after they do the interview, they stay overnight. They all go on their merry way. Maybe not so merry, but I won't get into that either. But they did the stunt. They got their money. They go back to their lives, their miserable lives that they're struggling with things. And then it goes from that Halloween till, I forget how long it is, 6 months, 8 months. It's around summertime when it kind of touches back where the story comes in. And that's like halfway through the story. The first half is kind of when they're at the house around Halloween time. The second half is their life after. But don't worry, the house is still involved. Their life hasn't gotten any better. They thought it was getting better. Then they realized they're all experiencing something very strange in their lives. They don't keep in contact with one another, but it gets to a point where they realize this isn't normal. And we need to go back to figure out what's going on, because none of us have been the same since. And it goes from there. I don't want to say too much because it's a really excellent story. I will absolutely reread this again. I will. There's a lot I want to tell you all about it, but anyways, it was easy to read. The story, there wasn't any boring parts I didn't find. I really didn't. Some books I read, there's boring parts. I trudge through them and you get to the end and it's still a great book, but there's boring parts. I didn't find this part had boring parts. It really flowed. The characters, like I've read this over a month ago, sometime like the beginning of August or something. And I still remember everything. I still remember their names. I remember what they look like. I remember how I felt in the summer back at that house. I remember Daniel Slaughter's clothes and him stumbling. I remember T.C. Moore's shaved head. I remember the banter. Wainwright. I remember everything. And I don't know. I'm sure not everybody liked this story, but I thought it was perfect. I really did. I really, really did. I liked it so much, I bought his second book, which I'm currently reading now. It's called Violet. I didn't read any of it yesterday because it was busy. It was Sunday. I had the kids here and all that kind of stuff. But I automatically bought his second book. Just, it doesn't have anything to do with this book. But because I like this so much, I automatically bought a second book. So I'll talk about that book probably next month. But anyways, and there's twists in this. There's twists in this that you're not expecting. And you think something goes one way and then it doesn't. And it's just up in your face. And then it's like, oh, what? What? I really enjoyed it. There was a little bit of everything in this. There really was, I thought. Now, I know I've seen somebody review this and the story was good, but they didn't like how some of the people were portrayed. And I'm just like, I thought it was okay. I know when I read a story, some language, which I didn't find in here, some language might not be appropriate. And they took offense to how Daniel Slaughter was portrayed because he's kind of a big frumpy man. And they kind of focused in on how they portrayed him being big. And I get it. I do get it. I didn't find it... I respect authors. I don't think there should be censoring on books. I didn't find that anything hateful about the language in this book. It was just a description of a man, but there was descriptions of Sebastian Cole, who was tall and skinny and frail and looked old, and T.C. Moore is just, I don't know. It might have been a personal thing for this person. I don't know. So anyways, I didn't find, it didn't upset me and to knock anything off. I would say this is 5 stars for me. I don't really do star ratings. I don't, but if I did, this would be A1 for me. So anyways, I do recommend it if you are into horror and you like haunted house stories. I don't find it scary, but it was like, it just made you think, and it was a really fun book. I read scarier novels last month, and I will talk about them, but loved it. So anyways, I just wanted to do a video while I can, have some tea, wait for my laundry to be done, and do some more laundry, and yeah. I plan on, I think the next book I'm going to do is Anaya or Anya. I say Anaya Allborn because that's how I read it, but I see other people call her Anya. So I'm not sure what her name is, but a book that I read of hers, and that's a doozy too. So anyways, I'm going to end this here. Kill Creek, recommend it. Check it out. If you do check it out, let me know. It might not be your cup of tea, but it's my cup of tea, and I respect everybody's cups that they drink out of. It's all good. It's all good in the neighborhood. So anyways, peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose, but if not, that's okay too. I still love ya. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So I really have a lot of fun talking about these books. I really need to restrain myself because I want to blab. I just want to blab. And I know not everybody wants to hear that. So anyways, that's the best I could do for this one. But I can't recommend it enough. So anyways, with that, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good morning. And I might see you tomorrow. Bye. Bloop.